pleasant morning, afternoon, and evening to everyone. So, I am Gleong Altea from BSN Major in English, along with Miss Danica or Fabio, also from BSN Major in English. So, we are the group 2 and the second reporters, and our group name is Egyptian Nation. So, of course, we need to set an objectives in order for us to have a goal in this activity or session, which at the end of the session, the students are expected to number one, determine the Egyptian literature and its context. Number two, create a pyramid that for social status of the ancient Egypt stratification. Number three is appraise the historical background of Egyptian literature and its history. The upper mentioned country is infamous around the world. It consists the one of the seven wonders of the history or ancient history. And Egypt is one of the rich country way back dating back during their prime era wherein they have the gold and have the ability and capability to build pyramids. The Donut civilization starts in Egypt. It is one of the oldest and the first civilization that occurs in history. But Egypt is not a mere country. It is not a country that was subjected into occupation, pyramid, war, and etc. etc. It is not about how they made the pyramids. It is not about how they can pray or worship God or 2,000 gods. It is not about how stunning Queen Cleopatra is. Egypt is a country that was rich in every aspect of a country that should have. Egypt is more than the relic of the past. Let's talk about the geological features or aspect of the Egyptian or the ancient Egypt. So, the main geological features of the Egypt is that the Egypt lies in the barren desert along with the Mediterranean Sea. It has a long river that comes from the Sudan or the country Sudan along to the north. So the civilization start with the river itself. Why? Because it provides them a mud. What do they do with the mud? When the Nile River or the gift of the Nile flood, it gives them a mud or something that they can farm on or cultivated on. So without farming, they can't live in there. Without the river, they can start a civilization there. So the gift of the Nile provides them a prospect to live and cultivate the river itself to their richness. In order for you to understand the concept of the geological aspect or features, allow me to present you its features. So it composed it to a region, which is the upper and the lower. The green one indicates how the floods contributed then to for farming aspect. So it is a long river that provides them a life. So yeah, they worship the river or the river itself. And according to the history, it is start about the war or the invasion that start in civilization or perhaps being normalized during that time. Invasions, slavery, and pag-aagawan ng teritoryo, pagpalawak ng kapangyarihan, and whatsoever. So it is prevalent that time, and It is success by King Menes, which he successfully claimed the Lower Egypt in the unang ruler ng Egypt. As we know, the country Egypt is one of the first and the oldest civilization, and they have the power, land, and the richness. Mayaman sila. So, of course, there would be a stratification or the social status set by the standards of the ancient Egypt, which it has a pyramid. So, number one, the pharaoh. It is the ruler of the land, which serve as the king or queen of the land. They govern the Egypt upper and lower for development, and they are treated also as a god in the land. They are worshipped. Number two is the government officials. It is the people who support and advise or perhaps serve as advisor of the pharaoh. Number three is the nobles and the priests. It's they have the equal power to the society of the ancient Egypt, mainly because they function or contribute to the society of the ancient Egypt equally. So, alam naman natin kung ano ibig sabihin ng nobles and priests. Nobles is one of the, siguro, may tuturing na natin na blue blood or may kaya, ganon. And the priest is those praise ito yung mga nagdadasal sa mga tangan ng ceremony, ganon. Number 4 is scribes and soldiers. So, ancient Egypt also have the soldier and the scribes. Scribes is those people who encode hieroglyphics and hieroglyphics. Wherein ito yung mga sinusulat doon sa mga pyramid, sa mga tablet, and whatsoever. Sila yung mga siguro nag-decode and also nagsusulat. So, some of them, marunong naman sila magsulat kahit mapababae or lalaki. Soldier. So, it is the one who secure the place. And also, they serve as the army or those who fight in a war. Number 5, artisan and merchant. So, in order for us or a country grows, it needs some economical people who can serve and develop our economy, which is the artisan and the merchant. So, they provide the products, buy products, and develop our in the surroundings. Number 6 is the peasant and the slaves. Ito yung mga mahihirap or nasa lower level na ng pyramid. Sila yung pwedeng nagtatrabaho for labor for making the pyramid. And mga nagtatanim, mga nagko-cultivate ng land, ganon. And the slaves is those na nagsuserve doon sa palace kung saan they are treated as slaves because they are caught in a war. Nahuli sila sa mga war and they are a property. Tinuturing siyang property ng mga nobles and the pharaohs itself. Now, let's talk about the mythology of the ancient Egypt or someone or the superiority that the ancient Egypt worship. So they believe in the mythology as well as they worship 2,000 plus gods. Imagine like that you are worshiping a 2,000 plus gods. And one of these or some of these are the number 1, Amon or Amon, the hidden one, the king of all god. Number 2, I know you might be familiar with him, which is Anubis, the jackal-headed god of mummification and escort the dead. So, in this, makikita nyo dun sa pyramid, para meron dun something like half na ang ulo is a dog, parang ganon. So, sinasabi na pinaniniwalaan nila na sa reincarnation na mangyayari dun sa mummification na or dun sa pharaoh na inilibing sa pyramid will be escort by Anubis. Bastet, ancient god with a head of cat. She is the guardian of the pregnant woman. Number 4 is Geb, earth god ruling over fertility, fresh water, earthquake, and etc. The next one is Hathor, cow-headed goddess of love, marriage, and motherhood. The next one, it might be also familiar with you, Horus, the falcon-headed Egyptian god which rules the sun and the sky. He is the embodiment of the kingship. The next one is the Isis or Isis, the the powerful goddess which have the capability to heal or a healer. The next one is the Nephthys, mother of Anubis. Then it follows the Nut, the goddess of the sky. The next one is the Pita or Ta. I don't know how to pronounce it. It is the divine sculpture, an ancient Egyptian god for of craftsmen, art, and creativity. And Ra follows, creator of Egyptian god of sun, and the keeper of cosmic order. Second to the last is the Set, or the wily tricksters of Egyptian god. And the last one is the Thoth, or Thoth. He is the Abyss-headed Egyptian god of moon, medicine, science, and magic. So it is not limited in these people or these goddess or goddesses because a majority of the Egyptian gods almost worship everything. They worship the pharaoh or the ruler of the land. They worship the Nile Egypt itself. And they do everything to please the God or the what they believe into. Kasi, gaya na sinabi ko, when the river or the Nile River don't flood that much or hindi siya bumabaha ng ganon kalaki or hindi bumabaha sa isang taon ganon, they offer something. For example, is food, and whatsoever. That's the means of pleasing the God because they are satisfied about the people's actions. Now, let's talk about Queen Cleopatra or Cleopatra the Sixth. So, again, she is a blue-blooded or a royal blood wherein ancient Egypt is subjected into dynasty. So, the ruler should be pure-blooded from the ancestors of the gods or the pharaohs. So, Queen Cleopatra is one of the famous pharaohs that governs the Egypt. And she is the last one or the last pharaohs before the downfall of the Egypt from I think Alexander the Great or the Roman Empire. Yeah. So we all know that when we say Cleopatra, it is the woman of wise or intellect, a captivating woman, stunning, intelligent, and so many more impression that of course because history make Cleopatra in make Cleopatra into something more diligent than a mere leaders. So we all know that when Queen Cleopatra contributes of the success before the downfall. Again, the ancient history depicts Queen Cleopatra as intelligent, beautiful, and stunning, and whatsoever that connects with the beautiful and clever. So she was an embodiment of intelligent woman that have the power or empowerment of a woman that should be um, prevalent in our society naman. So aside from that, the most intriguing to know is that Queen Cleopatra uses her resources. She can use her mind and cleverness into for victory. Kasi ginagamit niya yung ganda niya to win a war. She seduced some of the Roman Empire, but sadly, at the end of the war, they were defeated. So let us now talk about the scripts. So ancient Egypt have scripted the two main system of writing, which is scripted into two. The two main components, which is number one, the hieroglyphics, and number two, the hieratics. Egyptian hieroglyphs have a representation or it composed of elements that comprises or represent the concept, sounds, action, and context. It is primarily used for rituals and to be carved, and the pyramids or the wall of pyramids. So it can be seen in the wall architectures of the ancient Egyptian, wherein it is considered as holy carvings that connects with the gods. The next one is the hieroglyphics. It is a form of derived from hieroglyphics wherein it is more informal or formal in a way that it can be used for ceremonies and rituals of the ancient Egyptian, and it is a more a mere language that of preservation of the history of the writing system and also the history itself because it is written in the papyrus or the plant that grows along the Nile River. So majority of the function or the major function of the hierotic is for funerals. So maybe it is something that was rituals that was written for the mummification rituals wherein it can be put inside a coffin to empower and give the guide the spirit of the pharaohs to be reincarnated. The scripts or the main writing system of the ancient Egypt empowers them to have uh, their history written and preserved in a way that it can be accessed through the next generation. However, it is hard to read some of their context because it is written in a way that it can't be read because not of all of them can read because majority of the ancient Egyptian have a specific or the private that we call scribes, right? So maybe only the pharaohs, the priests, or the nobles the can decode the hieroglyphics and others and the heretics. Moreover, ancient Egyptian or the Egypt itself is indeed a rich country and civilization that contributed a lot to the society, especially in terms of knowledge and as architectural factors, because it helped them understand how arithmetic works, how the cosmic order works, and the calendar, which is relies on the or derived from the observation of the season in that era or in that particular place that affects or perhaps influenced by the Nile River or the gift of the Nile. Because their calendar is based on how they can cultivate the land to produce crops or to plant crops. So, if it doesn't rain in a year, so that would be all for my part. I hope you learned something. And the next part will be reported by Miss Danica Ursavio.
Hello everyone. Egyptian literature has a rich and ancient history that dates back thousands of years. One of the most famous works of Egyptian literature is the Tale of Sinuhe, which provide insights into the beliefs and values of ancient Egyptian. The Tale of Sinuhe. The Tale of Sinuhe is an ancient Egyptian story that revolves around the life of Sinuhe. Sinuhe is a royal assistant. The story begins with the death of the king Amenemhat I. Upon hearing the news of the king's death, Sinuhe panics and flees for Syria, abandoning his comfortable life in Egypt. At first, he becomes part of the tribe called Renetu and marries the leader's eldest daughter. He ages and has children, but still approached by a warrior who was sent to kill him and agrees to duel with him. He is victorious and considers going back home to Egypt. After this, he receives a letter from the new king of Egypt, but has some apprehension due to his departure. After heading to Egypt, Sinuhe is accepted by the king and is given a place to stay. He is told to change his appearance, but he is forgiven by the king for his earlier departure, and it is even offered a prestigious position. Next is To Whom Should I Speak? Another notable Egyptian literary works is To Whom Should I Speak? It is a poem by Thomas Eric Pitt, an Egyptian poet which shows distrust of fellow men. It voices the idea that problems in human relations were as acute then as they are now. The poem is about someone who has been enduring great pain, but he is unsure to whom he should speak, to whom he should express his remorse, and to whom he should restrain himself for the harsh crimes he has committed in the past. He regards everyone as a brother, but the irony is that these brothers act in ways that are not typical of a brother. Now let's proceed to the notable literary works of Egyptian. Egyptian literature has a rich and diverse collection of notable works throughout its history. Here are a few examples. First is the Book of the Dead. This collection of spells and rituals was intended to guide the deceased through the afterlife. It contains instructions for navigating the underworld and ensuring a successful journey to the realm of gods. Next is the tale of Shipwrecked Sailor. This story follows a sailor who survives a shipwreck and encounters a magical island. It explores themes of adventure, fate, and the power of storytelling. The third one is the Great Hymn to Athens. It was a hymn poem collection that it is written in honor of the sun disk deity Athens. This hymn offers a look into the religious ideology and art that arose as a result of such worship. Peru, Akhenaten, prohibited the worship of other gods, effectively converting ancient Egypt's polytheistic worship into a monotheistic one. So the fourth one is the Papyrus Westcar. It is a collection of 5 stories from ancient Egypt. These 5 legends are about miracles and magic performed by priests and magicians throughout their time period. Each of these stories is told at King Khufu's royal court by one of his sons. This is an excellent introduction of ancient Egyptian society and the art that emerged from religious beliefs. So the fifth one is the Legend of Isis and Osiris. This is one of the ancient Egypt's most well-known myths. It is about the assassination of god Osiris by his own brother, Seth, in order for him to assume the kingdom or the throne. Isis, Osiris' wife, subsequently retrieves and revives her husband's body in order to have a son with him. The rest of the story is about Horus, Isis, and Osiris' son becoming his uncle's rival for the kingdom and regaining it. The story is significant in ancient Egypt because of its religious symbolism and the strong sense of family and loyalty and devotion. So, number 6 is the Maxims of Tahotep. The Maxims of Tahotep. It is also known as the Instruction of Tahotep. It is a compilation of teachings on social values, including as kindness, modesty, and fairness. Many papyrus texts still exist today, including 2 manuscripts kept by the British Museum and the Prissy Papyrus, which dates back to the Middle Kingdom and is stored at the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris. The Maxims of Tahotep was written to be guide for young men who wanted to live moral and successful lives. Next, I will discuss the 9 of the famous literary writers in Egypt. First is Nawal el Saadawi. She was born in 1931. She is a popular female writer in Egypt. She is also a physician, psychiatrist, and activist. She is an advocate. She is one of the most powerful leaders who advocate for the rights of women not only in Egypt but also throughout the Arab world. Examples of her works are Memoir from the Women's Prison. It was published in 1986. It offers both first-hand witness to women's resistance to state violence and fascinating insights into the formation of women's community. One of her another famous work is The Fall of the Imam. It was first published in 1987. This is a powerful and poetic novel. It is a call to arms against those who use religion as a weapon against women. Second of famous writer in Egypt is Adaf Swef. She was a she was born in 1950 and she is one of the most popular modern Egyptian writer, a prolific novelist and political campaigner. Swift has become a force as an author and an activist. She was one of the leaders of Arab Spring protest, which led to the resignation of Hosni Mubarak. Two of her famous works are The Map of Love and In the Eye of the Sun. The Map of Love is set in early 1990s and 1990s. The Map of Love tells two intertwined cross-culture love stories. While In the Eye of the Sun, it was published in 1992. It's about a young Egyptian woman lives in Egypt and England, where she goes to study as a postgraduate. The third one is Yusuf Idris. He was born in 1927 and died on 1921. He is one of the most popular Egyptian writers of all time. During the course of his prolific career, he wrote novels, plays, and even a short story or two. One of his famous work is the Al-Farafir. This is a play that focuses on two characters who are completely different from each other. Next of his famous work is The City of Love and Ashes. It is a novel of Cairo, a snapshot of the metropolis in these turbulent times. Fourth is Alaa al-Aswani. He was born in 1968. He is a prolific Egyptian writer originally from Cairo. He is the founding member of a political movement called Kefaya. Through his work and ideas, he speaks to drive changes that take place in Egypt for the benefit of everyone who lives there, including middle class families. Two of his famous works are Chicago and the Jacobian Building. Chicago was published in 2007. It is about the conflict between politics, sex, and money. The Jacobian Building was published in 2006. It is a novel about modern day Cairo using the residents of the building as a broad cross section of Egyptian society. Number 5 is Number 5 is Miral Al-Tahawni. She was born in 1968. She is a popular novelist and short story writer from Egypt. Even though she comes from a conservative background, many of her ideas are revolutionary, such as The Tent and Brooklyn Heights. The Tent was published in 1996. It is beautifully written, powerful, and disturbing novel featuring a host of women characters whose lives are subject to the will of a single, often absent, patriarch and his brutal, foul-mouthed mother. Brooklyn Heights was published in 2010. It tells the story of the New York's Arab immigrants and those who live among them. It was shortlisted for the Arabic Booker Prize for 2011 and won the 2010 Naguib Mahfouz Medal for Literature. Number 6 is Salwa Bakr. She is an Egyptian novelist, critic, and activist. She was born in Cairo in 1949 to a father who was a railway worker. One of her famous works was Bashmore. This novel is an important contribution to the continuing tradition of historical fiction writing in within the Egyptian context, and its translation into English. Another one is The Golden Chariot. This is about women from widely differing backgrounds, some innocent and some guilty, and they come together in a single prison ward. Taha Hussein was born in 1889 and died in 1973. He is considered to be one of the most influential writers of the 20th century. He has also been called the Dean of Arabic Literature. One of his famous work was The Call of the Curlew. It was published in 1934. This is a novel describes the life of experiences of Amna, a girl who witnessed the murder of her sister by her uncle for preserving the honor of the family. Last one is Naguib Mahfouz. He was born in 1911 and died in 2006. He is one of the top Egyptian writers of the 20th century. He also won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1988. He is a writer with a career that has spanned more than 70 years. He has written several plays, hundreds of short stories, and dozens of novels. His two famous works are Cairo Trilogy and Love in the Rain. Cairo Trilogy was published in 1956. It follows the life of Kairin, Patriarch, Al-Sayed, and Mr. Ahmad Abd al-Jawad and his family across three generations from 1919. The year of Egyptian Revolution against the British colonizers ruling Egypt to almost the end of the Second World War in 1944. The Love in the Rain was published in 1973. It is a vibrant novel of memorable characters who search for happiness and true love, cope with the bitterness that results from love, betrayal, and embrace new beginnings. Now let's proceed to the types of Egyptian literature. Number one is mythology and epics. Egyptian mythology includes stories of gods and goddesses. We all know that, and creation myths and epic tales. So, one best example is the story of Osiris, Isis, and Horus. Next is wisdom literature. This includes proverbs, moral teachings, and philosophical insights. One notable example is the instructions of Amenemop or Amenope, which offers advice on how to live a righteous life. The third one is historical texts. This includes official records, annals, and chronicles that document historical events such as military campaigns, royal decrees, and administrative matters. Number four is love poetry. Ancient Egyptian literature also includes romantic poetry such as love songs and poems expressing longing and desire. For examples are the love songs of Shusin. These are a collection of Sumerian love poems, but they are often included in discussions of ancient Egyptian love poetry. They express themes of love, desire, and longing. Also, the love of songs of Ipuwer. These are a collection of Sumerian love poems, but they are often included in discussions of ancient Egyptian love poetry. They express themes of love, desire, and longingness. Also, the love songs of Ipuwer. This collection of ancient Egyptian love songs portrays themes of romantic love, desire, and the joys of pains of being in love. Number 5 is hymns and prayers. These are religious texts dedicated to the worship of a specific god and goddesses, praising their qualities and asking for their favor. For examples, the hymn to the Nile. This ancient Egyptian hymn praises the Nile River, which was seen as a life-giving force. It expresses gratitude for the river's fertility and abundance. Also, the great hymn to Aten. This hymn is attributed to Pharaoh Akhenaten and praises the sun god Aten as the creator and sustainer of all life. It emphasizes the monotheistic belief of Akhenaten's religious reforms. Number 6 is the pyramid texts. These are ancient Egyptian religious texts that were carved onto the walls of pyramids. They contain prayers, spells, and rituals intended to guide the deceased pharaohs into the afterlife. Number 7 and the last one is the coffin texts. It is similar to the pyramid text. The coffin texts were written in coffin, of course, of non-royal individuals. They also contain spells and prayers related to the afterlife. So these are just a few examples of the types of Egyptian literature that have been survived over the centuries.